Jai Gurudev, everybody. Welcome again. So, like I said, you see, I'm out of the quarantine. Actually, it was a self quarantine. Funny thing is that many people have been asking, how was it the quarantine? I got messages saying, "Oh, Swamiji, how was it? Was it terrible?" Actually, no, it was not terrible. It was wonderful. It was really, really, really nice, actually, to be in this. It was not really quarantine like closer. We could go in the balcony and all these things. It was wonderful, and yeah, I was talking to a devotee also some days ago. We were saying that these satsang, could be called the COVID 19 series. It was funny actually. They were laughing. So it's really nice, actually, I'm looking forward to go for a walk also around. And today it's quite windy and fresh. So I will go because I was walking up on the roof, going up and down. So now we can go outside. It's nice actually. So, and now I'm looking forward to go to the temple and really see the other birds also. What else? I was watching a nice movie actually, not today, yes, last night, about Saint Bakita. And it's really beautiful. Of course, a movie is a movie, it's not really accurate, but it gives you a different. It's so nice, like I was saying, all these movies on the life of saints, and the deities, all this different aspect of gods, it's very inspiring. So I'll ask Jagopal to ask your question.
Jai Gurudev Guruji, the scriptures tell us that we should become unmotivated servants of God. I don't understand how to love just for the sake of loving. Don't we always want something in return, like happiness or love itself?
Well, look, unmotivated. You use that word unmotivated. I don't think anybody do anything without any motive. Even when we say we are loving God for His sake. It is a motive, It is an aim behind that. So no one really do anything without any motive behind. If you don't have a goal, it's like a boat without any sense of direction, which is in the middle of the ocean without any compass. What will happen? The boat will keep turning around, It's like somebody's going into a forest without a guide, For sure, you will get lost. So like that, you see, we have to set motive in life. And of course, it depends what kind of motive, what is the aim of one motive. So, you see, our mind is designed in that way. So we can't let the mind, be quiet. When Bhagavan Krishna himself said it, Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 35, he said, but it's very difficult. Indeed, it's very difficult to control the mind. Because that mind, which is like a monkey, it is always jumping from one thought to the other. So if we don't give it a certain motive to focus upon, it's very difficult. Of course, it's not about dwelling. When we analyze the mind itself, how it functions, my mind is very often, either it is focused, or focus in the past, or worrying about the future, thinking about the past and worrying about the future. This is how the mind focuses about. Very rarely is the mind here really enjoying that precise moment. So that jumping from, having regret what you have done in the past, thinking about it, become miserable, or worrying about the future, what will be, which you can't change anything. You can't change the past, you can't change the future. Everything is focused on the present moment itself. So having a motive is very important. You see, in that verse, Bhagavan Krishna said, chapter 6, verse 35, he said that it indeed is very difficult to control the mind, but with constant practice and detachment from certain things, that it will become possible. They say, it's true. When we have a constant practice in our life, things change. Like this satsang, every day you all are sitting there, doing japam and listening to the satsang. Of course, you look forward, and changes happen when you look at yourself. There is certain changes which is happening inside of you. So you see, through that constant practice, it is important to have an aim, no? So that aim is very clear, when you have a certain aim and you focus upon that aim. When we talk about the gopi again, I will repeat that, because when we talk about the gopi, their aim was Krishna. It's not aimless. It's not, okay, I'm aiming for a void or an emptiness, which I don't have any clue what it is. It is a God, I recognize him and he recognizes me. We have this relationship together. And due to that, there is an aim to that, And also in that context, we see what Bhagavan said, constant practice. So the constant practice is that aim which we put in our life, and being a devotee, the aim should not just be a shallow, because you see, people talk about happiness. Oh, just be happy. Are they really happy? Just talking about happiness, you don't become happy. You have to have an aim to focus upon something which makes you complete happy. Not just happy today, tomorrow you're not happy because of your mind a cycle inside of you, which is continuously putting pressure upon yourself. So the aim is to transform yourself. The aim is to attain the lotus feet of Sriman Narayana. That is the aim. So to come to that point of that aim, what we must do is to detach, which means let go of things which is not connected to that aim. So when your aim is clear, you see, when you look at life itself, you see in daily life how much time people lose. When we look at a day for somebody, how much time they lose on social media, how much time they lose on their phone, how much time they lose in doing so petty things, which doesn't have any meaning in their life. So you see, to have an aim is very important. Without aim, it's not possible. So that make it clear what you have to change in your life, what you have to let go in your life to attain that aim. Because you see, you will not attain that aim if you don't let go of certain things. By letting go of certain things, which is not connected to your aim, that make you much at ease and light to carry on your path. Otherwise, it becomes difficult. This mental agony, it will drive you crazy. So do have an aim, and that aim, like being a devotee, that aim must be the feet of the Lord. No matter what, you must attain to that.
Guruji, this may seem like a simple question, but what is fear, really?
Fear is unknown things, you see. When you start to imagine things, when, let's say, fear have many levels. You see, for example, you fear something that you don't know about. Why? Because that thing is unknown to you. So because it is unknown, you can imagine so many varieties of ideas about that thing. And of course, fear arises. You see, fear is a state of unknown, something that you doesn't know about. Something that you don't know about, you have fear about it. You see, like that, you see, in religion itself, very often, when you go and talk about your spiritual path, very often religion find it very difficult to accept because they don't know about it. They will criticize you. You will tell many things. They will tell you are coming from the devil and so on. It's just because they are ignorant. They have never taken their time to study other philosophy in their life. They have focused only on one thing, and that's it. They don't know anything else. And due to that ignorance inside of them, they have great fear. They will even fight for their ideas. But why do you think people fight for their ideas? It is due to that lack of trust in the supreme divine being. They say, yes, we believe in God, but yet when that faith is challenged, why do you think people fight? Whenever you talk with some people which is not in the same understanding of you, on the same, they don't agree with your philosophy, they don't want to hear about it. They want you to hear them, but they don't want to hear you. So they will fight for their belief because it's out of fear. Because, you see, they don't really fully trust into their religion or into their belief. So like that, fear have many aspects, of unknown. When you don't know something, you stay in that state of ignorance. Of course, you will be fearful about everything. You'll be fearful what will be next. You will be fearful. But if I don't achieve that, what I've been taught in this life, I will go to hell. Or if I do this, I will go to hell. Or through that, lots of things arise inside. So fear is this factor of unknown. It is through fear also that very often religion and many aspects you see nowadays that people being controlled about. Let's say, for example, you will know something, it's easy. What will happen? Do you think you will have fear for that? No, you will not have any fear for that. But when they can input fear inside of you through what you see around, our visual, what you hear around, so what happened? You get panic. So through that fear, there's others who can control you. They don't want you, like I said in one satsang, they don't want you to be free. You see, being free, you are a challenge to them. You see, a free person is a challenge to the society. Because a free person functions in a different level. So can everybody understand that? No, it's a challenge for them. Because it's a challenge, you become an obstruction for those who want to control you. So that's why you see around, you see in social media, you see in everywhere what people want you to be. Fearful. They incur fear inside of you. They want this category, this quality of fear to become very strong inside of you so that they can control you. In another path, the spirituality told you, no, you should not fear anything. You should be free. You should not have this aspect of that you can't achieve something. No, you can. Like earlier I said, if your aim is clear, you see, move toward that aim. Be fearless. You have seen a lion. When a lion is looking at its prey, the lion don't look left, right. The lion moves very slowly towards its prey. Imagine the lion will have fear. Imagine the lion standing there with all four legs shaking and don't know what to do. Do you think that lion you can call the lion the king of the jungle? No, you can't call that lion even a lion. You would just call the lion a pussycat. Even a cat doesn't have fear when the cat jumps from very high down. But with that trust, with that confidence that I will land on my 4 leg, that cat stands strong. Imagine that cat will jump and will fall down and with fear. It will never happen. Most of the time it's fear that kills people. You know, there is this beautiful story. Once a saint was going on a pilgrimage. And as he was going on the pilgrimage, he met death on the way. So he asked death, where are you going? I said, oh, I'm going to that pilgrimage site, And he asked him, how many dead people would you take today? I said, oh, I will take only 200 people. That's what it is meant, So he went. On the way back, he met death again. And he said, well, I heard that you told me that you will take only 200 people, but more than 2,000 people died. I said, yes, I went there to get 2,000 people only, but out of fear, because there was a plague or whatever, out of fear, 2,000 people died. So, you see, majority of things is, in life, when you transcend fear, you become fearless, you move forward in life. Nothing can stop you. Like I said earlier, your goal, when it is clear, nothing can stop you, whether it is on your spiritual path or on your worldly life, It doesn't matter which path you take. But if you cultivate fear, you will always be stopped. Because it's not about somebody else stopping you, it's about you yourself put that break in your life. And that don't make you move forward.
Jai Gurudev, dear Guruji, you have told us that we must love ourselves before we can love others. But you have also asked us to act selflessly. Can you please help us to understand how to develop self-love and selflessness without a contradiction?
Have to develop self-love, and
selflessness.
Actually, you see, selflessness, and self-love itself is the same. Because once you realize that love for you, automatically you will be able to love everything. You will be able to love everybody. Because you have not yet realized this love inside of you, it becomes difficult. So yesterday I was talking and I did talk about love itself, We are all, the story of Mirabai, for example, we are all drawn towards that love. It is through love itself that we are pushed to do things. For the sake of love itself, we do things. If we don't love something, or you don't like something and you don't love someone, would you really move forward into that? No, you would not. But because you have this love inside of you, you will be able to recognize that love in somebody else. You see, love is not something alien to you. It is something which is inside of you. When it manifests, when it comes to the surface, it becomes your reality. And that love itself, when it becomes your reality, when you perceive it, it starts to shine through you. So don't think that love is not there, but how much we focus upon it, how much we want it to shine through us. You see, Lord Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 11, he said, out of compassion, I dwell within their heart. It's so beautiful. And out of compassion for them, I dwell into their heart. Shining the light of knowledge, removing the ignorant which is born out of darkness. When we look at that, it's so beautiful when the Lord himself said, out of compassion, I dwell within their heart. It's not that Bhagwan is not there in the heart, He's ever present. But due to the ignorant, when one doesn't have the true knowledge of the self, firstly, true knowledge about him, we dwell in a state of ignorant. So in the state of ignorant, one doesn't perceive that love. You see, when you don't perceive that love, automatically you become selfish. You want to keep things for you. You know, you don't want to share. You are such in the mode of darkness. That's why ignorance is considered, very often ignorance is said to be darkness. So if one dwell into that state of darkness, do they perceive the light? No, they can't perceive the light. So only when you dwell into the state of light, when you have the true knowledge inside of you, that what is inside of you start to shine. So when you're in darkness, the distance between the ego especially, and the self, they're so big, it's so covered with so many layers. But that what you shine, what you have inside of you can't shine, can't show itself, can't beam its light. And what you have inside of you, like Krishna said, is he is the indweller of things. But for him, for you to see him, for you to perceive him, which is the indweller of the self, you must rise beyond that ignorance. So if you keep having that ignorance inside of you, it becomes very difficult. So removing that ignorance through the light of knowledge, the Lord starts shining through you. So yourself is start to shine, So what is inside of you? First, when you're in the mode of ignorant, your mind, your intellect, your senses, they all are bound by the same ignorant quality, which is awakening from that. So when you are in that state, in the mode of ignorant, of course you can't be selfless. You're fully selfish. So when that is cleansed, now when that is transformed, when you move closer towards the divine, it is like a magic, All of a sudden, you start to shine, you start to beam a different light. Your life change, It's not that it was not there, like I said, You see, it's like the sun, which is shining outside during the day, And yet, you have a thick curtain covering. You can't say that the sun is not shining. So in spite of this deep ignorance of which is represented by the curtain, the sun is still shining. So the Lord is the indweller of things. But if it is covered with ignorance, if it is covered with your ego, your pride, and all your negative quality, can it shine? It will not shine. But when you draw away the curtain, then you see the sunlight. So in spite of that, the sun is ever shining. So when all that ignorance, when all this darkness, which is in the form of ignorance, is removed, when you educate yourself and you move towards your goal, you start to shine. The self is start to shine. Why it start to shine? Because the grace of the Lord himself, like he said, out of compassion, I am the indweller, of them. Out of compassion, I dwell within their heart. So out of compassion, when you see you have come to that state, you are, you have that knowledge and you have that capacity to handle, automatically you become that divine aspect which is inside of you start to shine. It starts to shine through your mind, it starts to shine through your intellect, start to shine through your senses. So all these start to have a different aspect of their own, which is the transformation from the limited self into the divine self. So all, even the mind become divine, the intellect become divine, and the senses, everything that you do become divine and start to reflect that aspect of the self which is embedded inside of you, deep inside of you, start to shine through you. So automatically, whatever you do become selfless. So it's not, you don't stay in the same mode of selfishness, but when you get to know who you are, you dwell in a state of awareness, you start to shine the light of the Lord Himself, that grace which He awake inside of you. You start to reflect that light. So again, grace is not depend upon you, because you have come to a certain level due to your spiritual exercises, due to your effort. In the yoga term, it's called Savikalpa, Savikalpa Samadhi. So where you have come to a certain level of you have done through your effort, you have polished yourself, but yet there is still a little bit which is not in your hand to attain Nirvikalpa. So that little reside in the grace of Srimad Narayana. And that He remove it, by His grace only. So that's why effort is important, but it's also important to rely completely on attaining the grace of Srimad Narayana.
Dear Guruji, I wish to raise my children as devotees, but I need your advice. When I put too much pressure on them, they start to reject it. But I also see how schools and society take the children away from spiritual values and God. What practical advice could you give us?
You being a parent, firstly, you have to be an example, a role model for your children. Very often, you see, there are children, of course, they've been learning. When they go outside, they have different views of the world, of what, firstly, you are teaching them. But you have to teach them the right value. At the same time, you see, not to make them alien to the outside world also. Because they have to know also both worlds. Otherwise, it will be strange for them. The same, the outside world, how it was. That's why you have come on your spiritual path, seeing the difference between the two. You are able to take the right decision. So like that, what you teach, you as parents, to your children is very important. And the children will learn through what they see. It's not much what you tell them. You see, you have to understand. In a children level, in a child level, the child doesn't understand the word. Of course, you can talk things, you can explain to them, you can teach them. But you see, you can, as much as you teach them with verbal, it disappeared after some time. But what they view, by seeing, they keep it more inside of them. So, and also what they see, what they hear, not you telling them, but what they hear, how you are interacting, they learn through that. So you see, if somebody is smoking, automatically the child see that. And then you tell, you should not smoke. But then inside the mind is that, but you are doing it, why should I not do it? So like that, if you start putting, you see, you're engaging your children or your child in what you're doing, not saying, oh, when they grow up, they can decide by themselves. Oh, I'm very fearful. Very often I heard that from devotees, that no, I can't teach my children because, I fear what the people will say, all this. No, but if you yourself are showing fear to them, if you yourself are showing that you don't trust your path, then what are you teaching them? What do you expect them to learn from you? So if you really want your children to be different, to really transform, and you really want to teach them in the right way, start by engaging your children in whatever you do, also spiritually. This is very often, when you do your japam, even if they don't want to do japam, don't force them to do it, but just say, if you want to come, here, take a japa. Take this mala for you. You can play with it. So by playing with it, they will see what you are doing. They will be interested because it's like a game for them. So like that they will start. Of course, they will have their time where they will start to go outside, to look outside. But that seed which you have planted inside of them, that seed itself will germinate one day. That seed will grow one day, and it will bear its fruit. Maybe it's not now, it's not when you're expecting, but it will be in their life itself. They will come to that point. Oh, mom and dad have shown us something deep, It will reflect upon them, when they need it. Then they will find their way. They will find the path, So engage your children in what you do spiritually also, like singing, like chanting, and explain to them, if you are trying to explain, tell them the stories of Krishna, tell them the story of Rama, tell them the story of the saints, and tell it that they can understand. Because I think most of the time they don't really understand what you're telling. But when you talk a language which they understand, then it will make sense for them. And for that, they will grow. And they will, enjoy what you're giving them. Otherwise, they become boring. Because you see, what is wonderful for you, you are viewing it in a different, your mindset itself is different. But for them, it's boring. The same thing, it will tell you, start playing with a child toys. How will it be for you? It will be boring. Take something and hit on something which is making noise. It will not make any sense for you. But for the child, it is making sense, because that viewing and how the child is listening, it is creating certain impact upon that child itself. So that's how you will be able to engage your children also into your spiritual path, and engage them in a way that they also would like to participate. Because you see, when you force somebody, of course, after they say, oh, mom and dad have forced us always to do this, they will run away. But when you engage them in what you're doing, whether you don't beat them or you shout at them or whatever to do something, just let them be in the company, let them be in that vibration. Automatically, that will change something inside of them. So, Jai Gurudev.